So the Transatlantic Trade Investment Partnership, which is the trade agreement currently being negotiated between the U.S. and EU, is starting to really form and take place. The European Commission has just recently issued 8 new proposed texts, which are really interesting. One of them covers SPS and one covers TPT, and we're moving into the next round of negotiations next month, which is round 8. So it should be really unique to see how the United States reacts to these proposed texts, and should give us an idea of the direction that we're starting to move during these negotiations. And it's really important because this trade agreement gives us an opportunity to have a greater access to that market for agricultural products as a whole. We're seeing that in 2012, the European Union was exporting about $18 billion worth of agricultural products to the United States, whereas the U.S. was only exporting about $12 billion to the European Union. So there's room for growth, and part of getting that access through this trade agreement is through the standard tariff elimination that you see during regular trade agreement negotiations. And that will be great. But if we look at this trade agreement compared to other trade agreements, the U.S. already has a pretty strong minimum tariff level with the European Union. I think the current rate is about at 74% of ag tariff lines are about 5% or lower, and about 42% of the European Union's ag tariff lines are around 42% or lower. So there is room to grow, and that will allow us to get greater access to that market for agricultural products. But this agreement is beyond just tariff elimination. It's about addressing those non-tariff barriers such as SPS and TBT issues, and addressing U.S. concerns about the EU having standards that aren't based on science. And so specifically for the agriculture industry, we'll be looking at addressing those issues, looking for greater acceptance of GE crops, looking at acceptance of animal drugs. And then specifically for the feed industry, I think this agreement as a whole, we know that the European Union is going to be the largest trade agreement that the United States will ever have. And the GDP of the EU is roughly 45% of the world's GDP. So as a whole, agriculture is going to have a great opportunity here in getting greater access to that market. And for feed specifically, it's going to allow us to compete better in that market, have a more level playing field, and hopefully being able to address those tariff barriers, but also more beyond that, the non-tariff barriers such as SPS and non-scientific based standards that have been restricting us to that market could allow us to have that greater access to that market and have greater compete more effectively in that industry. And if you think about the value-added aspect of feed products, the meat, milk, and eggs that go into the European Union, it's a great potential market for those products. We are a efficient and cost-effective producer of pork, and ractopamine issues have been keeping us out of that industry. And so the feed industry sees opportunities there where we can increase our meat, milk, and egg exports into the European Union as another way to take advantage of this trade agreement and future opportunities there.